Hello and welcome to the last video of the Edexcel Unit 3 stuff. I've been having a bit of trouble, haven't I, with this video stuff, but hopefully I've got it sorted now and it is recording the whole screen on Windows 7 rather than Windows XP, but yeah, that's enough. Where did we get to? We got the customers thing sorted, we've got this table bit done, we've filled out all the table formulas and stuff in there, we've got the nested if statements and the support bits at the end and rounded it off as needed. I said I was going to talk about this total cost of transport column and also about this package price thing with the email that I sent you. So let's load up this email here. And I did send you this back on the 11th of December, so 2 days ago now. Note the time down there. I'm a bit more grouchy at 6:37 in the evening. But hopefully we'll get this done. So I sent you this. I'm going to discuss it for in a second, but I'm just going to copy it to start with, and I'm going to put it into the package price bit here. So I'll paste that in there. Paste. There you go. And it runs. I'm going to copy it down without knowing what it does yet, but just to notice that it does actually put some formula stuff in there, and it does make us a profit on most of them, not all of them. Some of them are red, but if you remember back from the scenario, you can make a loss on certain games as long as you make a profit overall. So that's what we've got to keep in mind, that we've got to make a profit here. But if these are red, it's not too much of a worry. Let's have a look at this this formula then. So I've got equals round VLOOKUP B4 in lookups, in the tab for lookups, between AX11 and AZ30, number 3. And then I've got plus transport K4 divided by 33, and then the closing bit of the round to 0. And I hope you remember from the last time what we were doing with the round bit. Well, this one is rounding off so that we don't get anything other than 0 zeros on the price, which is exactly what we want. We want ticket prices for football and any other sport, I imagine, are exactly to the nearest pound. You don't pay £45.73 to go into a game. So that's why I've included the round bit here. So we know what this bit does. What we may not know about is this VLOOKUP. Now, most of you, I think there's only 2 of you left that haven't come to see me yet, but you are, promising to come tomorrow. So hopefully you'll see this video, and then you'll come and discuss any bits that you don't understand. But most of you have come to see me and had a chat and discussion about this VLOOKUP thing, and everyone who's seen me has got it and understands exactly what it's supposed to do. But for those of you that haven't seen it yet, or maybe you need a quick refresher, the VLOOKUP here looks up whatever's in B4, and B4's blue, so I'll look at the blue cell over here, whatever's in B4 against the lookups tab, AX11 to AZ30. Well, let's go and have a look at AX11 to AZ30. So let's go down to lookups, and this is the lookups tab here with the things that we imported in previously in video 1. Seems like a long time ago now. We've got AX there, and then 11 here. So AX11 includes Amersham Rangers all the way down to AZ30. So if I go down and then go across, there's me stuff. So there's my table. So I've got one column here with all the different teams in. I've then got a second column with the supporters of each team, and then I've got the ticket cost of each of the teams. And so that's column 1, that's column 2, and that's column 3 of the table. Okay. Let's remember that. Column 1, team, support, and then ticket cost, column 3. So if we go back into the team sheet and have a look at our formula again. So look up in B4, whatever's in B4, the blue bit, look up the team in that table that we were just talking about. We'll look it up. So we'll find where Amersham Rangers, whatever's in B4, is in this table. And then read off column 3. So what was column 3? Let's go back again. Oops. Column 3, well, we've got to read off the ticket cost. So we're going to find out, based on the team, how much they charge per ticket. So that's this bit. So we're just looking for a ticket price in that VLOOKUP, and that's all it does. It just says, find this in this, and then go across to this certain column index. So find Amersham Rangers in the table, and then find out what their ticket price is. That's the VLOOKUP. And then add to that transport K4 divided by 33. Okay, well, let's have a look what's in transport K4. Transport K4 across. Oh, it's the cost of the coach for Rubicon Transport with Amersham Rangers. So what price does a whole coach cost for Amersham Rangers? And then we had to divide that by 33. So why is it 33? Let's have a look at the transport rates. Yes, and then in Rubicon Transport, the coach capacity is 33. So it doesn't seem fair, I don't think, to get every single person to pay for the price of the coach on its own. Otherwise, the package price goes up to a massive amount. So that's why I undo. We go to transport costs, so the cost of the coach divided by the number of people in there. And that's the formula, basically. It's just ticket price plus the cost of the coach. And obviously we make a slight bit of profit here. Now, this formula isn't perfect, and it isn't perfect for one reason in my mind. In fact, a couple of reasons, but I'll talk about one of them to start with, and that's this transport K4 divided by 33 bit isn't perfect. And you might already have been able to work this out, but imagine you've got 5,000 supporters in. Coming to your game, exactly 5,000. That number isn't equally divisible by 33, so you'll put 33 people on the first coach, you'll put 33 on the second coach, and so on and so on. And eventually the last coach that you get to won't have a full 33 number of people in there. So actually you're charging them for the seat of divided by 33, but there's only 27 on there. So you're losing a bit of money on that last coach. You might want to think about that. I mean, you don't necessarily have to change the formula. The formula there works, and you can see you're making, a profit over here. So something is working fine, but it's not an exact number. And if you're going to go for an A grade, one of the top end, top mark stuff, then maybe you want to look at changing this bit out. Maybe you want to do a bit more work in this VLOOKUP. But it's a really nice function, set of functions with a bit of formulas in there, just to get it working. So it's okay. It's not brilliant, but it will get you there. It'll get you to your C's and B's ratios, alright? The other bit that I said I was going to talk about, other than this bit, was on the transport rates page. You'll notice that it goes A, B, and then I. So clearly there's some hidden stuff in here, and the same thing is true in the transport page of ABCJKRX. Now, did have to get on my dictionary for that one, but clearly the alphabet doesn't go JKRX, not the English one anyway. So I'm going to unhide these cells, and I'm going to go to review, unprotect sheet, and then I'm going to type in the usual password, and then I can unhide the cells. There you go. And the same thing I'm going to do on these ones, as I've got the unprotect sheet bit up. It means that I'd have to switch between tabs later, unhide those, and I've got some bits there. Now, in this one, I've got some blue ones which have been unhidden, but I've also got some white ones there. And I'll talk about those in a second when I go back to transport rates. Now, we imagine, we're not entirely sure, but we imagine that a part of the exam could be that you've got Rubicon Transport, and also you've got a couple of other spare fields for maybe some other transport companies. Maybe you've got Dave's Taxis, and Chris's Cars, and I don't know, Ben's Boats. I'm running out of names here, aren't I? Oh, George's Caravans. Maybe they come as well. I don't know. It's 6:44 in the evening now. I'm just making rubbish up. And the next one, Jeff's Trains Service. I don't know, Jeff now runs his own train company. And then finally, we've got Barry's Motors, who provide an excellent service, I promise you. Dave's, I mean, this sort of stuff I'm making up at the moment, as you can tell, but genuinely in the exam, we believe that it's a possibility that you may be asked to put in this data, and the data will be given to you in the exam paper via a table. So there'll be a table in the exam paper, and they'll ask you to copy it from C2 all the way to H6 there. So they're going to ask you to type it in manually, this data. So I'm making it up as I've said, so I'm just going to chuck in 400 and 250 and 385. Ooh, can't even type now. 387, 228, and finally Barry's Motors, obviously reliable but quite expensive, £307. Right, and then the coach capacities for these, again, in the exam, they may ask you to type this out using data that they've already given you. They're not going to ask you to make it up. That would be a ridiculous model. So even though I'm doing this now as a test, just to make sure it works, I imagine that in the exam that you're going to have to do this via typing out a table. So again, let's get those figures in. Fuel surcharge may stay the same, although I imagine gas guzzling boats, especially on land. Didn't really think that one through, did I? Nope. Also trains. Yeah, I guess you could have a train station, but definitely not boats around the country, especially getting to some of the central places. Anyway, so we've got extra driver supplements as well. Rambling on 72. It's so hard to make up numbers and talk 70. So there you go. Right, so I've got some data in there now. I've put it in, and when I go back to the transport table, you'll notice these things that I've made up there have appeared as extra columns. Now, we're onto a good thing here if they're putting them in the cells, and it does kind of look right. And I've got the different values here for how much it's going to cost to go to each game based on Dave and Kristen's boat and Ben's boats and all that sort of stuff. That's in there, and you can see it's a slightly different cost to the coach of Rubicon. I'm going to use the same formula that they've done for the Rubicon transport here, and I'm going to put it in Dave's taxi. So I've got equals K4. So K4 is the cost of the coach at Rubicon transport there. That's K4. And that's times by C4. So C4 is, the amount of coaches that I need to take. So if I've got Dave's taxis there, instead of being equals K4, I'm now going to have equals L4 multiplied by C4. And because C4 doesn't change, it doesn't move across the columns as I'm going, I'm going to press F4 on that one. I'm going to make that a $sign, so it keeps it intact as I move across that way. There you go. And also, I'm going to keep it in line with this where they haven't got any decimal points, so I'm going to change that one down to no decimal points. There you go. I've just used the number decreased decimal version there. So you can see certain ones are coming out cheaper than others there. And I've used that $sign, $C, $4 just to keep that the same. So it's always C4. You can see that the N changes up here to O and then to P, but the C and 4 never change. Now if I copy that formula down, I've got L5, but now I've got to change this to C5, and as I go down again I've got to change that to C6 and then 7, all the way down, because the C, even though it doesn't move across the column, I do need to move it downwards to keep in line with this blue one here. Now I could go and manually edit each one and go C5 with a $sign in front, but there is an easier way. So I'm going to show you this now. If you remember it, you'll shave a good 4 minutes off your exam. So if I delete the $sign in front of the 4, because it's the 4 that actually I want to change as it goes downward, but I keep the C there because it is going to be the C column each time. So I want L4 times $C, no $4. Again, let's take the decimal points down. There you go. Move it across, and then just copy it downwards and watch what happens. Look, it's gone C5, C6, C7, E8, keeps them all in there, and I've got values everywhere. I know these are correct because this is playing themselves, and within 30 seconds I've created that entire table. Really useful to remember that removing of the $sign and then moving downwards. Quite nice. So I've got all of the figures here now, and the total cost of transport, I imagine, will be the minimum of all of those different transport ones. So I've got Rubicon there all the way to Jeff Trains. Press enter and then move it downwards. I can use decimal points this time because there were originally decimal points in there. And we can see that on this one, Jeff's the cheapest there, and actually going down, do you know what, Jeff is the cheapest all the time. This, might be true, this might come out. One thing to note, just before we go any further. Rubicon, Dave, Chris, Ben, George, Jeff. Let's go to the other sheet. Rubicon, Dave, Chris, Ben, George, Jeff, Barry. Now notice that Barry doesn't appear on the sheet. It's got one there, it's got a Q one, but it doesn't have one to total up. And that's not a worry as such. I mean, it could just be a completely accident thing in the exam, and they're actually going to insert a new column in there, and they're going to get you to put in Barry's Motors one as well, because it's been missed out. That's something to think about, because if you see in the exam paper this one's a lot cheaper, it doesn't get included here. So either they ask you in the exam paper to insert a new column there and also include Barry's stuff, or, which I'm ambivalent about. I'm not really sure whether they're going to get you to do that. So unless it's in the exam paper, don't do it. Or you just ignore that one completely and talk about that in the evaluation and the model, that it's not brilliant. Or actually, when you get the exam paper, this one might be removed completely, and there is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 possible spaces that you can put the stuff in. It's a bit of a weird one, the fact that Barry does appear there, but he doesn't appear here. So they may ask you to insert an extra column. We just don't know. So I'm going to leave that one for a second. Barry, I'm sorry. Hi folks, back. Sorry about that. Just to say where we're at, we've just put in the data for these ones. I've played about with a couple of the figures here just to mix it up slightly on where we're at. And as we can see here, that in terms of who's cheapest, we've got Chris's Cars as 106,000, 30,000, 90. Oh, on this one, suddenly Jeff's Trains becomes cheapest. On this one, 79,560. Chris's Cars is cheapest. So actually, when we're looking through at which one is the cheapest one, we have to be very, very careful because it does actually switch between them. So, you know, the formula that we use for transport has to be related to which of these cells is the cheapest. Now, this could be very, very simple, or this could be very, very difficult, but we'll see that in a second. The thing that we've also missed is in C to J. That's another bit of the alphabet that doesn't really exist, so let's unhide those cells. And as we can see, there are a number of coaches in the same way that this formula works here for Rubicon. We've got to do the same for Dave's. So if I click that, post that in there, and in transport rates, instead of being B4 on that one as well, is it? So int B4, so whatever's in B4 here. So int B4 is now C4. Then transport rates C4, and that's got the dollar inside, so let's put the dollar on there as well. All I'm doing is just copying the formula and changing it so that it works for the other one. Well, suddenly we only need 9 coaches because actually this coach capacity is 35. That's a massive jump, isn't it? That's if C4 equals 0, that seems to work. It's that is $B, isn't it? $B. The number of passengers, not the number of coaches. We don't want to put people on a coach. That would be silly. But that's a bit better. Does make sense as well that 33 to 35 is going to be a small jump, and that's a small jump of coaches. Let's have a look on this one then. So the next one would be, I guess, moving along the cell. If we copy those across, 52 coaches. Why is that? Is that? Oh, yep, 200 on a coach. That's a ridiculous amount. Let's change that back to 60. Obviously, I've typed in the wrong number there somewhere, and we're back to even number coaches. I wonder if I can copy that down as well. Yep, that seems great. That seems to be working fine, doesn't it? I've gone a bit too far. Down to there, and then I wonder whether I can copy across and down, and we'll get the same sort of figures. Yep, so 315, 315 on a coach that requires 35 and 35. We know those numbers are correct, so these should be the same number of coaches as we've got the same number of people per coach. So that one does seem to work. Well, let's have a look at our formulas again then. So this one, L4 times C4. Well, actually, the number of coaches is no longer C4. This one is now C4. Nope, that's D4. And let's move that one along. And let's move it downwards. And does that work? Well, this one is now M23 times E23, M23 times E23, Chris's Cars and Chris's Cars. That does make sense. So, the formulas are working there. That one should be Jeff's times Jeff's. Yeah. So I've unhidden the extra bits of the sheet there, and I've gone through I guess a rigorous process. I told you about this L4 D4 bit here, and also you might have seen me just copy them across and copy them downwards. That does save a lot of time when you're doing it. I did the same thing for these ones as well, just making sure that my formulas were correct and my dollar signs in the right place, as I did here. So what I did, copied it across and then moved it downwards, and it has seemed to copy everything into the right place. So I've got here Chris's Cars being the cheapest, then Chris's Cars again, Chris's Cars, Chris's Cars, Chris's Cars, Chris's Cars. Yep, these are all exactly the same, and actually Chris's Cars does turn out to be the cheapest in my model, although these are just random data that I've put in here. Does seem to work fine. So Chris's Cars, you are the cheapest. So when I'm going back to my teams bit here, I want to say that Chris's Cars is the one instead of what am I talking about here? Instead of the Rubicon transport. So plus the Chris's Cars transport one. So where were you? You were cost of coach for Chris's Cars divided by number of people on Chris's Cars coach, which is a massive amount, 60. And then there you go. So I've modified, and I I'll put the dollar signs in there and copy it downwards. And you can see, again, we're not making profit on certain ones, but we are making them on the others. So make sure you got your dollar signs in the transport rate, because the transport rate doesn't move downwards. That always stays in the same cell, D4, and that's it. So obviously you're going to have to modify your formula slightly for this. Also, I seem to be charged a package price to go and see myself. So actually, I'm going to go a bit further. I'm going to make another change to this. And again, you don't have to do this, but it just makes it look a bit nicer. Equals if the Havering Whitecaps equals that one there, because I'm on the same row, then don't write anything, otherwise continue with the rest of it. So let's include that on, there you go, and copy it down. Oh, hang on a minute, B2, that's got to be a F4, got to put a dollar sign around that because that one doesn't move down each time, but the other one does. And there's my 0 there, so I know that now works. So that was just an extra bit on there. Again, if you're not fully understanding these bits of the formulas and the transport rate changes based on this stuff, I wouldn't be tempted to include all the extras, but if you want to go for an A grade, this is the sort of thing you need. Maybe again, even though, we're putting this in manually now, but it's not a brilliant formula there, that transport rate, because if the transport rate changes suddenly, the cell D4 and the minimum of these is no longer relevant. So there is a nice little VLOOKUP that you can do, or an enhanced VLOOKUP that you can do here to work out whatever is the cheapest one of this bit at the end here, whichever one is the minimum out of these. Then you want to work out what the cell is. Where is it? Back on these bits. Oh, number of coaches divided by this bit, and you can do the same sort of VLOOKUP. It's an index plus a VLOOKUP plus a match as well, I imagine, for all of that bit. Again, very, very complicated, depending on whether you want to go for that top A, so you are going to have to look at index and matching. I do have a little activity if you do want to go for something like that and work out what index and match means, but that is a very complicated one to get the full 90 to 100% with this exam. This bit, absolutely fine, will get you your C's and your B's, and with a good write-up and stuff, you might be able to push that a bit further. But there's so much that you can do with this model, and we're just scratching the surface by looking at this bit, and whether you choose to go and learn how to make a VLOOKUP, that will do the extra bit for you. That's completely up to you. So we've done the package price bit. We've made that a lot more complicated than it looked before, haven't we? But hopefully you understand the round and the VLOOKUP bit, and the extra changes in the transport rates based on this stuff, and why the model is actually a lot bigger than we thought, with those 2 extra bits that you've got to type in there. We've looked at the customer sheet as well. We've done the extra bits on that one, so that should be fine. We've got the fixture dates and bits there, and all of that was sorted in video 1. So clearly, that seems to be the model almost complete. It's up to you, like I said, whether you want to have a little go with these bits here and see whether you can make an even better formula that does work brilliantly, even if you change these bits, whether you'll have time to recreate this in the exam and worry if things go wrong, and whether you've got your dollar signs in the right place and that sort of thing. It's completely up to you, but I challenge you to have a go at it at least while you're learning the model. And again, here's my key bits. Activity 1, you're going through, you're looking at the model, you're explaining the scenario. Activity 2, you're looking at the data and the quality of it and the reliability of those 2 text files that you get, and of the data that you're going to get for the exam, which is this bit. Be careful. Make sure you understand and talk about the reliability, the accuracy, how limitations of the data, that sort of stuff, for all 3 of those, the 2 text files and the data that is on the paper on the day. Third bit, have you imported all the data into the exam scenario spreadsheet? That's this one and this one. Have you typed in the data there? Have you then done the customer field where you've done the equals if? Have you done the package price, which is related back to the team sheet down here? Have you then done the percentage reductions? Again, they're going to give you that in the exam in activity 3, we imagine. Then you've got the support bit, adjusted for the package price, the 100 minus times bits. I don't need to explain those again. Watch video 1 if you're unsure of them. Then we've got the percentages. They're going to ask you for an adjusted reduction based on whatever it could be. Look at video 1 again. I give you a couple of ideas. Then you've got the support adjusted at the end, which is very similar to the support adjusted for package price formulas. Very, very similar. Then when you put that in, you're going to do the transport bits. Make sure you can understand those. You're going to work out the total cost of transport with a min bit. And then finally, work out the package price using the extremely long formula. If you've got time to add the extra functions in for VLOOKUP, do. If you don't, start working on activity 4. Activity 4 being the recommendations that you're going to make from the model. So what package prices have you chosen and why? You're then going to be including hold control to get the second one, charts. Maybe it's a chart of the package prices that you've chosen, like that. Maybe you've got a good title like package prices of Havering Whitecaps, because bearing in mind we are on the Havering Whitecaps, then make your chart slightly bigger. Do you need to have the legend on the end? That's completely up to you. I don't know. That's your choice. Do you want to have this white random bar in the middle where you're playing 0 because it's yourself? If you don't, delete the chart, hide, right click. Oh, we've got to unprotect that sheet first. Do unprotect all the sheets in the exam, obviously. Right click on the one that you want to hide. Hide it there, then select them again. Then, I'll remember I'm holding control to sort that bit out. Do a column. Oh, that's my fault there. Clicking too quickly on this mouse. There you go. Insert chart. There you go. And again, put a better title in the package price. Delete this bit if you don't want it. If it's all the same and it's in the title, we don't need it. But again, look, the Havering Whitecaps one has gone. Remember, though, to unhide it after it's finished. I mean, it's up to you. You don't necessarily have to do that unless they specifically ask in the exam. I think it looks better if you do. That's up to you, though. They may ask you to do team and the profits that you're going to make on each game. And again, that will come as a line chart probably rather than a bar chart. And make that bigger as before. You are going to lose money as well. Maybe make some of these smaller. This is just basic stuff that you're going to be doing within there. So, you know, I want to leave that to you to decide how you're going to lay it out, what it's going to look like, and also how you're going to present it as a report. So that's all activity 4. Activity 5, evaluation of the model. Talk about stuff like the fact that Barry's Motus doesn't exist there. If it doesn't, there are many other things. We've gone through a couple of things already in the model that it would cause it to change if there were issues. Does it work properly? I mean, why does it Havering Whitecaps at the top, but actually you can change the sheet there? There's little evaluation bits. I don't want to pick up with them all because it's your exam and you've got to choose what you do within the 2 hours and a half. But clearly we've got a load of stuff there that we've looked at. Hopefully you understand it all. You've got the 3 videos. You can go through them as many times as you like. And my advice to you, as always, is build that model as many times as you can. Go through this because every time that I do it, I miss things. I've stopped this video 4 times already where I've gone wrong. I expect you to do the same. That's absolutely fine. I'd rather you do it now in practice than do it in the exam. Hopefully that makes sense. Good luck. See you on Monday in the lesson, alright? Have a good weekend.